to have the opportunity to participate in this gathering on the occasion of the delivery of K.S. Rajamony Memorial Lecture. The speakers who took the podium before me have highlighted how eminently Sri K.S. Rajamony contributed not only to the legal profession to which he belonged, but also to the social activity and being a member of the Kerala Public Men's Inquiry Commission. A public-spirited personality as he was, naturally inspired people of his time, and I have no doubt will continue to inspire the generations to come, because a good idea, a noble mission is not confined to its time frame or to its geographical limitation. Kerala is a very prosperous state, particularly in the social indication. The state's impressive achievement in the field of literacy, education, health, gender equality, tourism and culture have truly attracted global acclamation. Similarly, both the bar and bench of Kerala High Court has also taken a very leading role in the establishment of rule of law and strengthening the legal framework provided by our Constitution. The subject which I have chosen to speak on this occasion is India at 70. Today we are speaking on 2nd of March, just after 6 months, less than 6 months, on 15th August of this year. Our freedom will complete 70 years. Naturally, when somebody speaks on this subject, it brings a comparative picture. Where we were when we attended independence, achieved it through long struggle of 190 years to make an end to the colonial rule, and what we have achieved during these 70 years. India's economy grew at a rate of 0.0% to 1%. In these 7 decades, 50s, 60s, 70s, at the end of 70s, Indian economy grew at the rate of 3.9%. Once it was jokingly called Hindu growth rate. But in the 80s, we went up to 5.6%, 90s 6.7%, and in the last 15 years, out of 15 years, 13 years, Indian economy grew more than 7%, and as per the indication of the 3rd quarter of the current year, it is sure to grow more than 7.5%. This has been achieved by the hard work of our workers and farmers, being backed by the appropriate policy. In 1950, our population was 360 million. But we did not produce enough to feed our people. Total grain production in 1950 was 45 million. We had to depend on American food aid through PL 480. Almost our situation was like ship to mouth, even up to the late 60s. But today, there is no PL 480. There is no Air Indian Consortium. There is no food aid. India produces enough to feed its people and also to export. It is expected this year our grain production will reach 272 million. Today, India is not only the fastest growing advanced economy, but also third in the size of the economy as per purchasing power parity, 10th in the industrial power, 10th industrial power, 6th member of the space, and we have made some sort of record. Just 2 weeks ago, when ISRO set a world record launching 104 satellites into space at one go. Till now, no country has even to have it, this record. Our Mars expedition was in the very first attempt successful, which is a unique feature and the cheapest of this type of expedition all over the world. In the last 70 years, many tangible achievements have been made by the country in the field of the infrastructure of higher education. Right now, when we are talking before you, there are more than 756 universities which provide degrees, more than 36,000 colleges, large number of engineering and technical institutions, the third largest reservoir of the technically competent manpower. But at the same time, there are some fault lines which ought to be addressed by us. Since I assumed the office of the 13th President of the Republic, by virtue of the office I am the visitor of 124 central universities, and almost like a parrot, in every academic congregation, I pointed out, I appreciate the physical expansion of our educational infrastructure in the higher education, but where the quality has gone. How is it? Every year, more than several thousand students cross the sea to receive higher education abroad. But at one point of time there was world-class universities in India, starting from Takshashila in the 3rd century BC, where 4 civilizations confluenced: Chinese, Indian, Persians, Greek, to the 12th century AD, when the Nalanda University collapsed. Universities are expected to attract the mighty minds in the forms of teachers and students. Each center of higher learning is expected to be the hub of intellectual exercises, free thinking, free exchange of views, free expression, which are essential to advance a nation. Can we put a record of this thinking? Can we put any restriction? And if there be some aberration, is it not the responsibility of the society to correct that aberrations? Because when we adopted our constitutions, which was operationalized on 26 January 1950, that is the first act which the people of India gave it to itself. In the Constituent Assembly, they adopted, enacted and gave to themselves, people of India. No House of Commons, no charter from the King Emperor, no outcome of the commission appointed by our colonial masters, but the people of India, through their representatives, assembled in the Constituent Assembly of India, gave the Constitution which provided guarantee to justice, social, economic and political. To achieve social justice requires not mere governance, but a recasting of mindsets and the transformation of the social ethos. That is just not the job of the government or of the legislature, but of the society as a whole. The goal of political justice requires the continuous empowerment of marginalized sections of the society. We owe ourselves to create a system in which accession to politics is not limited to a privileged few, but an average Indian also feels empowered enough to contribute. And here we do feel, we have reasons to feel proud of that democracy has taken root in this country. In the last election, where more than out of 800 million voters, where more than 550 million electors exercised their voting rights and elected the parliament. We have wonderfully managed a highly diversified society. When we shut our eyes and look at India, we have 1.3 billion people. In our daily lives, we use 200 languages, 1600 dialects, all major 7 religions practiced, all 3 major ethnic groups, Dravidians, Caucasians, Mongolites, in large number live in India, yet under one system, one flag, one constitution. It is because we have celebrated this diversity. We have never attempted to constrain it, to limit it. We did not make any attempt, or even if we made, it failed, to bring uniformity in place of diversity. Because diversity is essentially the strength of Indian culture. There is no doubt. As Dr. Amartya Sen in one of his books has said, Indians are naturally argumentative. I agree. Indians are argumentative, but not intolerant. If Indians are intolerant, India would not have remained in one country. There would have been balkanizations. Nobody could have prevented it. Therefore, what is needed is tolerance, acceptance of plurality, and respect for the core values of civilization. Once I very strongly expressed my views, and still I adhere to it. I cannot call a society civilized society if that society does not pay respect to its women. If women are brutalized, that society can never claim to be a civilized society. It is an uncivil society. And it is not merely the responsibility of the lawmakers or of the governments of the day to tackle these problems alone. It requires persons of public spirited like K.S. Rajamony and many others who have made their contribution. How the social reforms, how the social movement carried out in this country, and what is the inherent strength of our democratic polity. It is not only the constitution, but free press, active civil society, and also the participating democracy. And here we must, as I mentioned, that in every system there may be occasion when the fault lines develop. And if we ignore that, then our system will start crumbling. We find fault lines. Just a few moments back I mentioned about our pride in our parliamentary democracy. How the people exercise their freedom of choice. How the Independent Election Commission conducts these huge affairs, and they do not come from heaven. Election Commission essentially consists of the civil servants. But those civil servants, when they are entrusted with this responsibility, they can act as independently as necessary. Even the Prime Minister of the country, to submit his nomination paper, is to stand before a junior administrative officer to take oath to the Constitution of India, and that junior administrative officer, perhaps he can never enter into the room of the Prime Minister, would not show respect by standing before him. This is the beauty of the system we developed. If there is a fault line, we must correct it. Legislatures and parliament are meant for expressing the grievances of the people and legislate. The floor test cannot be converted into a muscle test. Elected members should have the right to express their opinion freely. Parliament's job is to make legislation. Parliament's job is to express the concerns, views and grievances of the people. And what has happened? Volumes of statistics are available. We find that in the first parliament, when our budget was extremely low, the first budget of India's independent India, revenue budget was just 293 crores of rupees. 226 crores, 297 crores. 226 crores was civil budget, 71 crores was military budget. Budget classifications was very simple. But the budget which Finance Minister has presented, which are yet to be fully approved by the Parliament, which will be done in the next leg of the parliamentary session, are more than 17 lakh crores of rupees. We have moved from less than 300 crores of rupees to 17 lakh crores of rupees. But are we doing justice? Are we analyzing the financial provisions in detail? Interested, informed debates are taking place on the floor of the House. How many days are disrupted? In democracy, as a student, I learned from my teacher. 3 Ds are essential. Debate, dissension, and finally decision. Our system works on that principle. Policies will be debated. Dissent views will have to be heard. Finally, decisions are to be taken. And that is the job of the Parliament. That is the job of the legislation. More than 41% time of the 15th Lok Sabha was wasted for disruptions. Is it not the fault line? Doesn't create lack of confidence in the system. Therefore, this is the time that we must create the atmosphere for every institution. Sometimes some phrases are being used, phrases like judicial activism. Our Constitution has finally defined the activities of all 3 major organs: executive, legislature, judiciary. Judiciary is independent. Executive and legislatures, their relationships are very close. For every action, executive is responsible to the legislatures. But if these organs do not fulfill their jobs, then there comes the overlapping. Keeping that objective in view, our founding fathers, our forefathers observed. I am just quoting a few lines from Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's observation. When he said, in the ultimate analysis, it is a manner of thinking, a manner of action, a manner of behavior to your neighbor and to your adversary and opponent, which will determine the future of the democracy which we would like to have. Dr. Ambedkar, the maker of the Constitution and chairman of the drafting committee, on the concluding days of the Constituent Assembly, he made a very passionate appeal. I would like to quote a few lines from his observations. I quote, "However good a constitution may be, it is sure it turned out bad because those who are called to work it happen to be bad wrought. However bad a constitution may be, it may turn out to be good if those who are called to work it happen to be a good lot. The working of a constitution does not depend wholly upon the nature of the constitution. The constitution can provide only the organs of state, such as the legislature, executive and the judiciary. The factors on which the working of these organs of the state depend are the people and the political parties they will set up as their instruments to carry out their wishes and their policies. Will Indians place the country above their creed, or will they place creed above country? I do not know. But this much is certain, that if the parties place creed above country, our independence will be put in jeopardy a second time and probably be lost forever. This eventuality we must all resolutely guard against." He went on saying further, if we want to maintain democracy, not merely in form, but also in fact, what must we do? In the first thing, in my judgment, we must do is to hold fast to constitutional methods of achieving our social and economic objectives. It means we must abandon the bloody methods of revolution. But where constitutional methods are open, there can be no justification for these unconstitutional methods. These methods are nothing but the grammar of anarchy, and sooner they are abandoned, the better for us. Unquote. What Dr. Ambedkar said, what Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, are essential. That democracy as an institution, constitution as an instrument of governance, can deliver goods, provided the handler of these instruments are well intended.